Hello everybody, this is Marty, and this is Sailing Vessel Kudos, a Hans Christian 38T, heavy blue water cruiser, full keel, tipping the scales at 43,000 pounds in cruising trim. Good morning. Well, this is what it looks like when you got a boat torn apart doing upgrades. It's quite the mess. Got the quarter berth kind of empty. Of course, I put in the new 120 volt power supply charger. So I can optimize running off the generator and charge the batteries faster. And of course, it overpowers the circuit, so now I have to rewire that, put bigger wire in, bigger breakers, all that stuff. So yeah, every project seems like you gotta backtrack, and everything else that goes with it's got to be redone too. I got the wind generator off, it's gone. The controller that was over here, it's gone. And then we go to the mess. I've got tools scattered. There's the new alternator. 250 amp. The test papers it came with, actually it said 271. Anyways, unfortunately they sent me the wrong pulleys with it. So I'm waiting for the right ones to show up. And it's got to go down there. And then when the new pulleys show up, I'll get it all put together. The timing belt that's back in here, that's going to get replaced with the idler pulleys and such before I button all that up. I might as well just do it all right now. I was going to change the timing belt this winter anyways. I do that every 3 years, whether the motors ran or not, just to be safe. This isn't obviously a diesel and an interference engine, and if you lose the belt, you lose the motor. But yeah, it's a mess. I got more projects going on here. Balmar MC618 regulator for the alternator. It monitors the battery temperatures, it monitors the alternator temperatures. That should keep things good. There's the cable that the new alternator will hook to the batteries with. Stuff's huge. I got some more cable here to hook up all the new solar. I haven't even started on that project yet. And I got a few other little goodies and gadgets and stuff to go in, but I got 3 months to get it done. So we'll see what happens. I got the humidifiers going. That's that blinking light over there, and actually I need to find out why it's blinking. Probably needs to be turned on. Yep, that's all it was. That one drains into the shower sump. And then there's another dehumidifier here that drains into this galley sink, and I got another one here at the base of the stairs. And yeah, it's doing well. It's off too, darn it. Okay, there it is. But they all keep it pretty dry in here, and I have yet to have any mold or mildew issues in this boat, which is rare for the Pacific Northwest. So anyways, on to my projects. Well, after many days of issues, first of all, we ended up getting the alternator. I made a mounting bracket. Let's see if we can show that. tensioning bracket down in there. Got that done. Got the alternator mounted and completely wired with the X18 regulator. But then I got shipped the wrong pulleys. Partly my fault. I just grabbed what was for an M50, and this is a Perkins M50. And I ended up ordering pulleys for a universal M50, which I had no idea they even existed. So obviously they didn't fit. Then Balmar doesn't make pulleys for this engine anymore. So I had to get them out of Electromax in Canada. Then they got stuck at the border in customs. Needed more paperwork. Finally got out of there. UPS was supposed to deliver, but they got the address wrong on the bills. So UPS pulled in the driveway and left because the address wasn't correct. So I ended up arranging to get them picked up at the UPS terminal in the area. Got that done. Got them on. Then the belt didn't fit. It's too short. 40-inch belt, and what I needed was 42-inch. I don't usually buy things from Amazon, but I was able to get it next day. So I was able to get a 42-inch belt, and it fits perfectly. I've got 2 of them, so I got to back up. I also bought a couple of 41s, but they won't be here till tomorrow, and I think they'll work too, so that'll give me 3 spares. So now the moment of truth. The belt is tensioned. I use a tensioning gauge for the timing belt and the V-belts. These things are amazing. And one of the only ways you can really get things properly tightened to the level that it needs to be. So now is the moment of truth. Yes, the boat's an absolute mess. We're going to turn on the ignition. Make sure the regulator came on, which it did, and it's set up for LiFePO batteries, lithium iron phosphate. I've got it set up to not start charging until 30 seconds after the engine is actually started, and 95% output. And I got the temperature dialed back slightly so it doesn't overheat the alternator, and it also monitors the battery temperatures. So we're going to go back through the process again and hope and pray this works and works right. Uh-oh. It's not starting. Back to the drawing board. Okay, after doing some diagnostics, I found out I didn't hook back up the wire that supplies the power to the start and stop solenoids. So that's hooked up. A little glow plug just in case. And still doesn't start. Now this particular engine is an isolated ground. There's actually a relay when you turn a key on that grounds the alternator and regulator. Well, since this is an updated alternator and not like the original, nothing worked. So I had to go through and trace the wiring, figure out what I needed to change. Got all that done finally, and now we're going to see what happens. Okay, it's making noise. That's usually a good sign. I have the Balmar regulator programmed not to produce any power for the first 30 seconds of operation to allow the belt to get warmed up. So right now I'm not showing any charge. I put a gauge over here that shows how much amps it's putting out. Well, here it comes. It's ramping up right now. That's already more than the other alternator ever put out. On the Victron app. Oh, it doesn't like that. It needs revved up. Little motor says, give me some more oomph. We'll run it up to about 1600 RPM. That was also after adjusting the tack because it did not work, or it displayed basically double the RPM that it was really getting. There's 1600. And right now 127, 128 amps. Now I did try 133 over there. I did try turning on an electric heater and it went up to 200 amps. So it is working. Everything seems to be fine. Fine. I finally got it. All right, got one more project done. Up here in the V-berth that I don't use as a V-berth, I finally got all the chain freshwater rinsed. I dumped it all into the river, and but it soaked for a few days, not on purpose, but chain locker and everything painted, cleaned and painted. All the way down into here, and you remember how deep that cavern is? Well, that's what 335 feet of chain looks like, piled up inside the boat. So that compartment's full, obviously, and I put a swivel on it here, where the rope actually attaches up there where the baby stay chain plates mount to the bow, and then I've got it hooked into the bonding system on the boat, so it hopefully won't corrode. And I got the bowsprit railing and stuff on the bonding system now too. That wasn't done before, so that's all new. Should help with things. There's also a zinc at the bottom of the baby stay, down just above the water line. But anyways, the problem I was having is the chain gets tangled, even though I have a swivel, a mantis swivel at the anchor itself. It when you let it out, it all gets twisted up inside here, and there's no way to undo it. So that's what this swivel's for, is I can let out all the chain. It seems to go off the boat in a straight manner, and then if it gets any twist in it, this swivel here on the inside will, I can get in here and untwist it, or hopefully it'll actually untwist all by itself. The rope that's here, 3/4 inch 8 plate, is actually long enough so it goes through the deck pipe, and I can actually untwist it outside the boat without having to get in here and do it. This isn't a lot of fun crawling down into here. So the bucket you see hanging in there is for the secondary anchor chain. It goes into that bucket. There's only like, oh, what is it, 50 feet or something like that. So that goes into that bucket and stays out of the way of the main G4 high test chain 3/8 that handles the main anchor. Anyways, one more project done, thank goodness. All right, been busy. Got the solar finally wired up. I've got two 115 watt bifacial panels on each side here. These I also made where I can move them up to here, here, or there, and be able to hopefully get the best outcome of sun with those. That gives an extra 460 watts. Then on top of the Bimini up, or the Dodger rather, up here, I had two 50 watt flexible solar panels sitting on top of it, and I swapped them out for two of the Renogy Shadow Flux 120 watt. So I over doubled that output. The ones on top of the Bimini are 100 watt each, Renogy. Same as the ones on the outside of the davits back there. Those are 100 watt Renogys. These again here on the lifelines are Renogy 115 watt bifacials. And then in the center, in the back here on the davits, I had a 240 watt panel there, and now it is 295 watt bifacials. So that gives me 1720 watts of solar, where I didn't have quite 1,000 watts before. You can see they're bifacial. You can see they got cells on the bottom and the top. Same thing with those. And then with my 220 watt Renogy portable panel, that gives me, what, 1940 watts, I think it is. Yeah, 1940 watts total, so almost double the output I had before. So I'm hoping that'll keep the batteries up. I'm sure when I get south, closer to the equator and stuff, I'll probably be doing a lot better, but up here in the northern latitudes, the 900 and I think I had 970 watts before, plus the 220 portable, I was only getting on a good day 30 to 35 amps out of it. So hopefully that's going to go up into the 50 to 60 amp range, and that should meet my requirements for the amount of juice this boat draws. I've got a lot of electrical stuff inside, and I want it. You know, yeah, I could get rid of some of it and lose some of the conveniences, but I don't want to. These panels, I can flip them inboard of the lifelines. They just pivot. Flip them inboard lifelines in stormy weather, so if a wave does hit, they just push them down, or they can come off completely. They're not permanent. And like I said before, they can be moved around. So I moved the kayak, inflatable kayak. This is my inflatable bike. Electric bike. Yeah, I wish it was inflatable. It'd be a lot lighter. And I moved my kayak back over here in front of the life raft. Still got the dinghy on deck. I'm not going to take it off the deck because the next trip I'm going right back out in the ocean. And another thing I got accomplished is I dumped all the diesel cans into the boat, so that's done. But this spool here, plastic spool, I had 300 feet of double braid nylon line on it, and then the other 300 feet of 8-plate nylon line that was on the end of the anchor chain, because when I first bought the boat it only had 150 feet of chain on it. Now it's got 335. Anyways, I got the other 300 feet on that same spool. So now that spool is holding 600 feet of 3/4 inch line for whatever I might need it for. Secondary anchor, tying to a shore, running a my sea anchor. I've got a 15-foot Paratech sea anchor. I've got a drogue, so it could be used for anything like that. So anyways, I'm hoping that this all does the trick and makes things better. I took you'll notice the wind generator is completely gone. it did more damage than it did good. It was any shade on the panels that it produced, it killed that panel's output. And it very rarely had any output of its own. I mean, most of the time in 10 to 15 knots of wind, it was lucky if it was putting out 2 amps. So it wasn't worth it. The only time I ever did get any good output out of it is like in the last video when I sit in that storm. Wind gets above 20, then it starts putting out some. 25 does better, up to 30, and then above that it starts kicking the brake, and then it obviously when it's on brake it doesn't produce any juice then either. So I should have listened to people. I've read a lot of stuff over the last few years about, they said just take your money and put it on solar. Don't waste your money on wind generators, and I should have listened. If it didn't shade the panels, I'd probably leave it on there. But it shades the panels and that just kills them. So it's gone. I did lengthen the davit for the little dinghy outboard a little bit because it wasn't quite tall enough with the new position I had to mount the outboard in when it's not on the dinghy. So got all that done. I think I'm about ready. Refinishing some wood around the butterfly hatch on the interior. I got all the anchor, rod, chain, everything, all that stored, all the kinks and twists out of it. It must have been twisted like 20 times. And unfortunately, with the swivel next to the anchor, there was no way to get the twist out of it. It kept jumping the gypsy as it came up. And even trying to manually make sure it didn't, it just got bound up enough where it just did it anyways. A lot of this winter is just fixing things that, little things, making them better that I learned over the summer playing around up in the San Juans in Canada. So hopefully my little fixes will work and everything will be a lot easier. I am going to get the sewing machine out after I'm done varnishing inside and put some straps on that jib bag that holds it forward, and so I can just leave it in that position, so when I drop the sail will drop into it. I think that'll make life easier too than trying to wad that bag up around a bulky sail, and it's a pain in the butt. So that's it. One more project I got left to do, but other than that, sitting here in Clatskanie, Oregon on a beautiful day, and hopefully keep plugging along here. In January I'll get some weather and start heading south.